Okay, so Alice in Borderland Season 2 ends on a big cliffhanger with us getting focus on a major card. If you read the manga that the series is based on, then you'll know that this actually holds a lot of significance. Not only does it explain who really runs the game, but it also basically tells us to why the entire thing was set up in the first place. Throughout this video, I want to go through what the Joker card is, how it can close off the season, and how it can be used to set up a Season 3 if they decide to go that route. If you enjoy the video, please hit the thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this every day. Without the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into Alice in Borderland. Now in order to talk about the card itself, we first have to talk about what the Borderland is. In the finale, we discover that Tokyo was actually hit by a meteorite and that this had a massive impact explosion that destroyed the entire city. Several people were killed during this, and in the source material, we discover that chunks from the meteor actually came off and hit people. This is what sent them into the alternate world, though here they just simplified and make it so that it's one big event. This was obviously a massive loss of life over a seemingly random occurrence. This is where the Joker comes into it. First introduced in chapter 63, this is fittingly called Joker. Though we don't learn too much about him as he only appears for a couple of pages, there is enough there to piece together exactly what he is. Now he appears right after the Queen is killed, like what we see in the show. This happens after the croquet game, which is beautifully recaptured in the series. The fireworks go off, and then all the players are given the choice to return to the real world, or they can remain behind in Borderland and go through the games once more. At this point, Arisu sits down at the Queen's table, and he sees a dark figure sitting opposite him. There's a Joker card in front, and the pair have a conversation that sort of reveals a lot of things. Arisu asks who he is, and he assumes that he's the ruler over all of Borderland. The Joker replies by saying, "Do I look like a devil or do I look like a god?" Now the following page has one quick panel that pretty much reveals everything, though you do kinda have to piece it together. In it we see a ferryman escorting people through a river, and on the shore we can see decrepit looking humans and also skulls surrounding the bottom of the panel. This is the Joker, and this is also a metaphor for what Borderland is. Greek mythology used to tell us about the ferryman Charon, which I always pronounce wrong, so apologies for that. Now this was a figure that would take the dead across the river Styx, and he'd transport damned souls between the land of the living and Hades. People were even buried with money in their eyes so that they could pay him, and he's seen as someone who basically rules over the state between life and death. And that's basically what's going on in the show, and Borderland itself is a game set up by him. In the manga, the meteorite killed hundreds of thousands of people, and the Joker saw this as being a colossal waste of life. He thought this was unfair, especially because so many of those that died were young kids who were yet to really get the chance to do anything with their lives. So in order to give everyone a chance, he set up the game so that players could battle it out for the right to return back to the land of the living. The entirety of Borderland is basically a limbo between the living world and death, where victims of the meteor strike have been assembled so they can get the chance to live once more. This Borderland is literally a border land between the two stages, where souls of those are gathered for the games. Now Karen or whatever wanted people to be sort of in a situation that they were comfortable with, and this is why Borderland also looks like Tokyo. If, say, the meteor had struck Constantinople or something, I don't know why that was the first place that came to mind. We'll say Rome. We'll say ancient Rome. If the meteor had struck ancient Rome, then players brought into it would have seen that, rather than seeing the futuristic city of Tokyo that would have blown their minds even without the loss. So it's basically a recreation of their world so that they can at least have some attachment to their home and also what they're fighting for. So the games play out, and the best players emerge out on top. Now it's also important to bear in mind that time moves differently in Borderland, and a minute in the real world is months down there. There are also characters that arrive before others, and several cycles which allow citizens to be put in place. For example, the face card holders that we see in the game all arrived months and months before the characters that we get behind. In the manga we discover that Kyuma arrived there 5 months before Arisu, and this is because the meteor struck where he was at first. He technically died before Arisu did, and though the explosion would have been about a second difference between the pair, the time dilation meant that he arrived months before in Borderland. This allowed him and the others to play through their own cycle of games, and when they won, they were given the choice to either return back to the surface or to remain behind. Those that chose to go back survived the blast, and they would have likely have been found by the rescue crews. Those that chose to stay were given the position of being face cards and citizens, and they then played the games against the next lot of players. there were lots of players that just didn't want to go home because they either had miserable lives or because they preferred the rules of the game and the time in between. These people probably would have been killed eventually, and they'd end up journeying into the land of the dead, possibly escorted by the Joker. So that's the basic explanation of it in the source material, with this being something that's hinted towards in the finale. Now the Joker card at the end could have a number of different meanings. The first one is that it's just a nod to the ending of the manga, and it's used to show us what's going on. A lot of people who haven't read it are probably confused, but I kind of see this as being a tease to who was behind it all, and also being like, go and read the manga, go f***ing read it. Now if that's the case, then it closes out the series, and that's it. The characters made it out, and the Joker oversaw this and left behind his calling card to let us know what's really happening. The manga ends at this place too, and it's possible they don't really want to go beyond this because they ran out of book story at this point. Game of Thrones showed us what happens when you let showrunners come up with their own ideas, and they might just not want to touch it beyond this point in the story. However, it might also be a case of them teasing what's to come, and they might just say, F it, let's tell the story beyond the books, because we've got great ideas and it never goes wrong. Now the finale did leave some things out, such as Arisu going off to college, and we had 731 days of restitution pass between the media strike and the ending. So plenty of time for other games, and the Joker itself could represent a number of things going on. Firstly, the Joker is a wild card, and the figure is often thought of as being a trickster. Therefore, this entire ending could be a trick, and they may still be stuck in the game. Borderland, of course, looks identical to Tokyo, and they could pull the rug out from under our feet. Joker is still the last card that they need to beat, and they might have just entered a new cycle like what they did at the end of Season 1. I kinda hope that's not the case, because then, if they beat it, it could really be like, well, how do you know this also isn't a trick? There's also that loss of memory too, which is in the manga as well. They have their memories of Borderland removed, so they can't be like, here's what happens when you die, mate, upon returning to the surface. Now, if they do decide to do a third season, I think they will most likely go that route, with Joker being revealed as the boss that's pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. They can also show the games to explore their memories of Borderland and possibly bring them back. The books did talk about how they could re-access them with a certain key, but whether they go that route or not remains to be seen. Anyway, that's everything you need to know about the mysterious ending and also the Joker card. Honestly, I kinda hope they end at this point because I think both series were perfect adaptations and I don't know if another one would spoil it. Obviously, that's my opinion, and there may be some of you who can't wait to get back. If we do get a third season, I don't think it'll take as long to develop as this one due to the pandemic holding that one back. So yeah, lots of things that could happen. My throat's a bit destroyed as you can hear. Got a cold. But yeah, drop a comment below, and the thumbs up's appreciated for that reason, because I'm working when I'm not very well, and you know you got to support me. You got to support with those thumbs ups. Now, if you do that, then you'll be entered into a competition where we're giving away Dawn of the Dead and Black Adam to 3 subscribers on the 15th of January. All you have to do, drop a like, subscribe with notifications on, and also leave a comment with your thoughts on the series. We pick them at random on the 15th, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, make sure you check out our rating of the season, which will be linked on screen right now. We talk about the ending, the games, the characters, lots of stuff filled in, so definitely head over there right after this. But out of the way, thanks for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.